Well, if nothing else, Trump is very consistent. He is very consistent about going out on Twitter and fighting with black athletes, okay, or somebody black. He loves putting us on blast, and, this is what he does, our white supremacist in chief. So let's take a look at this article that came out on Slate. And I will leave the link to this article in the description box. This is November 20th, 2017. Trump picks another battle with black athletes. It would be nice if this man would just get something done as the president. The president is preoccupied with well-known black people and their perceived disrespect. Puerto Rico still lacks power. Millions of children are waiting for Congress to reauthorize a vital health insurance program. A massive pipeline has leaked more than 200,000 gallons of oil in the American heartland. It's possible Trump is focused on these problems, but you wouldn't know it from his Twitter feed. There, he is again preoccupied with well-known black people and their perceived disrespect. On Sunday, it was LeVar Ball, not Burton, Trump supporters. LeVar Ball, father of LiAngelo Ball, one of 3 UCLA basketball players who were arrested in China on shoplifting charges. Trump had helped secure their release during his recent trip to China. Now, according to LeVar Ball, they had already had things settled before Trump said anything to the Chinese president. But let's move on. Announcing his involvement in a tweet. Do you think the 3 UCLA basketball players will say thank you, Trump? Well, they did. They were headed for 10 years in jail. The elder Ball was asked about this on ESPN, where he downplayed the incident and Trump's involvement. Who, he said, when asked about the president, what was he over there for? Don't tell me nothing. Everybody wants to make it seem like he helped me out of a China and saved from years in jail. He helped the basketball players out in China and saved them from years of jail. LeVar Ball, the father of LiAngelo, is unaccepting of what I did for his son. This is what Trump said. That shoplifting is no big deal. I should have left them in jail. Then that tells me, Trump, then your gesture to help was not genuine. It really wasn't. You only said something because you wanted the end result to be somebody kissing your ass. And apparently with LeVar Ball, you got the wrong one. Okay, this is what Trump wrote in his Twitter. Later in the day, for good measure, he added that LeVar Ball was ungrateful. You notice they always use that term on black people, ungrateful. They don't seem to be saying anybody else is ungrateful. They only use that terminology of ungratefulness and attaching it to black folks. I'm still waiting to find out we're grateful. I don't believe we have anything to be grateful to white people for. I don't care how much y'all keep claiming we do. I says we don't. Not content to go after just one famous black person, the president started his Monday with a jab at NFL player Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn Lynch, one of NFL's Oakland Raiders, stands for the Mexican anthem and sits down to booze for our national anthem. Great disrespect, whatever. Next time, NFL should suspend him for remainder of season. First of all, why should he be suspended? It is not mandatory to stand for the national anthem. So if it's not mandatory, why would you suspend him? That's stupid. Attendance and ratings way down. Well, Trump, I suppose you're not helping the situation by fighting with the players online either. Why does Trump turn to this well at every opportunity? The charitable explanation is that it is a strategic distraction from political difficulties. Russia, ladies and gentlemen, Russia. From what I understand, that is getting really bad, especially for his son-in-law. Things are turning bad on the son-in-law, and the investigation is not looking good as far as Trump is concerned. So many people are looking at his attempts out on Twitter to distract away from what's really going on. You know, he is the chief deflector too, from political difficulties or just bad news. And it is true that the Marshawn Lynch tweet preempted a BuzzFeed story on National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, who allegedly dismissed the president as an idiot and a dope with the intelligence of a kindergartner. Ooh, way to go, Trump. Surround yourself with people that think you're stupid. That is the complex explanation, but there's a simpler one. If Trump is preoccupied with Black athletes and their perceived disrespect, if he's quick to call them ungrateful, it has much to do with his own prejudice, as it does with any political strategy. Donald Trump has few mixed beliefs. If, as president, he acts as conservative Republican, but it's out of political expectancy. He doesn't share Paul Ryan's deep-seated opposition to the welfare state or Mike Pence's commitment to conservative evangelicals, Christianity. But there is one place where Trump has been consistent. As a landlord, as a real estate mogul, and as a politician, Trump has indulged or exploited anti-Black racism. He always has, even when he was in New York. This is really nothing new. Nothing new. As the young president, his father, real estate company. So, you know, he really was very young when he became the president of his father's real estate company in New York. Trump discriminated against Black and Hispanic renters. If some of you may remember, there were a lot of articles that came out, especially during the 90s, where Trump would not rent to people of color. And he ended up in a lot of court battles, and it made the paper several times in New York. Secretly marking their applications with a C for colored and steering them away from buildings with mostly white residents. While Trump denied intentional discrimination in his buildings, one housing activist told investigators at the time how a building superintendent acknowledged that he followed a racially discriminatory rental policy at the directions of his superiors, and his superiors was Trump. Trump never admitted guilt. He's not going to admit guilt about Russia either, by the way, but he eventually settled with the Justice Department. Years later, in 1989, Trump placed a full-page advertisement of 4 New York daily newspapers calling for the reinstatement of the death penalty in reference to the Central Park Five. And to this day, he has never apologized for doing that. All of those men were found not guilty. Even the one that accused them now sits around talking about, I don't remember what happened. I really don't remember, the white woman. But Trump has never apologized. He never admitted he was wrong. He still tries to imply these 5 men were guilty, although the evidence goes against what he's saying. Okay. A group of Black and Latino teenagers accused of assaulting and raping a white woman in Central Park. And to this day, she claims she has no memory of it. So how do you know those were the men? Or, and personally, I don't think she was touched at all. Muggers and murderers should be forced to suffer. And when they kill, they should be executed for their crimes, he wrote. After spending years in prison, the 5 men were eventually cleared by DNA evidence and a confession by the actual attacker. But Trump to this day say they're guilty and the DNA evidence cleared them. Trump has refused to budge from his own assessment of their guilt, saying as recently as last year, they were guilty. I bet you if they were white guys and DNA evidence cleared them, he wouldn't be sitting around saying that. Okay. It's possible Trump is just stubborn, but his history makes that unlikely. At the time, he was doubling down on his belief in the guilt of the Central Park Five. Trump was on his way to winning the presidency on the strength of a campaign that was soaked in racism and built on the foundation of his birther crusade against Barack Obama. For years, Trump was the most vocal proponent of the racist conspiracy theory that Obama was an illegitimate president born outside of the United States. With this advocacy, he built a political following that would eventually help him win the Republican presidency primary. Trump has been in the public eye for more than 40 years. He's worn several hats and claimed multiple identities, but throughout, he's been dogged by charges of anti-Black racism, whether it's discriminating against tenants or allegedly disparaging his Black casino employees as inherently lazy. Yes, he said this about his Black casino employees in New Jersey. Now, as president of the United States, he picks fights with Black athletes, disparages Black lawmakers, and stands up for white nationalists. Perhaps Trump is playing a cynical game of base management. No, Trump is actually just being the racist that he's always been. I guess because I live in New Jersey, I used to always see the news stories that came out of New York. So over the years, I always heard about Trump and his racism and everything. So it's nothing new. But look at his life. The more likely explanation is the simplest one. Donald Trump goes after Black people because he doesn't like them. And that's pretty much how I sums it. I agree with that. He has no track record of really liking black people, ladies and gentlemen. He's a 71 or somewhere around there. You're not going to change this old horse, okay? His dog tricks are now over. Trump is who he is. He is a product of his father, who we know was part of the Klan. What do you expect? He grew up in that kind of environment. This is who he is. He's not going to change. Please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. And if you can, remember to hit on that notification bell. That way you don't miss my next upcoming videos. Peace, family.